The Cullen family was unlike any other vampire clans. From the outside, they seemed like an anomaly in their world, a group of immortal creatures clinging to impossible ideals. They did not kill humans. They did not give in to their most primal instincts. And above all, they considered themselves a family in the most human sense of the word. But what truly made them unique was not just their will to resist the thirst for human blood. Each of them possessed something extraordinary, a trace of their previous life amplified into eternity. When Edward awoke after his transformation, he did not immediately understand what was happening. His senses were overwhelmed with an onslaught of stimuli, every sound and scent sharper than he had ever imagined. But soon he realized there was something more, something that tormented him beyond the burning thirst. He heard voices, not his own thoughts, but those of others. First, it was Carlisle's. His worries, his doubts about whether he had done the right thing by saving him from death. Then came the thoughts of others, drifting through the air like a deafening echo. At first, he thought he was going insane. He couldn't control the voices or shut them out. In the first few weeks, he had to stay away from human crowds because the noise in his mind became unbearable. But over time, he began to understand his gift and use it to his advantage. He could hear the thoughts of anyone around him with absolute clarity, even from a distance if he focused enough. He discovered that he could anticipate an opponent's moves before they even raised a hand, that he could track someone in a dark forest simply by following the trail of their thoughts. It was an impressive power, but also an unbearable burden. There were no secrets from him. Privacy did not exist. However, the day he met Bella, everything changed. For the first time, he encountered silence, absolute emptiness. Her mind was inaccessible, a complete mystery. It was the first time in his entire existence that he experienced the unknown, and he became obsessed with discovering what lay behind that wall. His love for her was born from that curiosity, but over time, it grew into something deeper. Something that made him realize that his gift, no matter how useful, could never give him what he truly desired, the mystery of humanity. He was not the only one who carried a power within. Alice also awoke with a gift that made her special, though hers had existed even before she became a vampire. Since childhood, she had been able to see the future, though her visions were fragmented and difficult to understand. Her own family had feared her, to the point of locking her in an asylum. It was there that she was transformed by a vampire whose face she could never remember. Upon awakening to her new existence, her visions became clearer. She could see the course of events with astonishing precision, anticipating the decisions of those around her. Her visions guided her to the Cullens long before she met them, and they also showed her the face of Jasper, the man destined to be her companion. Alice needed no proof or explanations. She simply knew. But her gift had limits. She could not see the future of werewolves, and her visions depended on the choices people made. A single change of will could alter the future in an instant, leaving everything uncertain. Despite this, her ability made the Cullens one of the hardest families to defeat. Every time an enemy approached, Alice had already seen them coming. Jasper, on the other hand, never imagined that his human life would determine his fate in such a brutal way. He had been a soldier during the Civil War, a natural leader who inspired loyalty in his men. But when he was transformed, he discovered that his influence over others went far beyond military strategy. He could feel the emotions of those around him with terrifying clarity, as if they were his own. He could sense fear before anyone even expressed it, and the most frightening part was that he could also manipulate those emotions at will. For years, he was a weapon in the Southern Vampire Wars, used as an unbeatable general who controlled newborn armies with his power. But with each death, he felt the horror and pain of his victims as if it were his own, until the guilt became unbearable. Alice was his salvation. She found him when he needed it most, guiding him toward a life he never believed possible. With the Cullens, he discovered something new, a purpose that was not stained with blood. But his struggle never truly ended. His thirst was the most intense of the families, and every day was a battle against his nature. Carlisle understood better than anyone what it meant to fight against instinct. He had been born in a time when vampires were seen as demons, and his own father had dedicated his life to hunting them. When he was bitten, his first instinct was to end his own existence, but something inside him refused to give in. Over time, he discovered that he could resist the thirst for human blood. It was not easy, but his unbreakable will made him into something the vampire world had never seen before, an immortal doctor. He learned to operate surrounded by blood without succumbing, to heal instead of destroy. His self-control was his true gift, a power as formidable as any supernatural ability. By his side was Esme, who had no special power in the traditional sense, but whose empathy and love were so strong that they seemed almost magical. She had suffered a human life marked by pain, the loss of her child, and despair. Carlisle saved her from death, but it was her own spirit that made her the heart of the family. Rosalie, on the other hand, saw her immortality as a curse. In life, she had been a young woman of exceptional beauty, but that same beauty had condemned her. Betrayed by the man she loved, transformed against her will, she never fully accepted her new existence. However, her transformation had given her more than just eternity. Her body was nearly indestructible. Stronger than any other vampire, her strength and speed rivaled even the fiercest newborns, despite centuries of existence. But if there was anyone in the family whose strength was legendary, it was Emmett. His story was less tragic than the others, and perhaps that was why he was the most carefree of them all. He had been a large and strong man in his human life, a hunter who met his end facing a bear. Rosalie found him dying and carried him to Carlisle, begging him to save him. When he awoke, he discovered that his strength had multiplied into something monstrous. He could knock down trees with a single blow, tear limbs from other vampires with ease. And unlike Rosalie, Edward, or Jasper, he never worried too much about the implications of his immortality. To him, life as a vampire was an adventure. The Cullens were more than just a family. They were pieces of an intertwined destiny, each with a gift that made them unique. And while the vampire world saw them as an oddity, an anomaly defying all the rules, their strength lay in what made them different. Together, they were more than immortal. They were legend.